The stars held no beauty for the dying Axiom captain. Blood ran down his blue-scaled face as he spoke into the communicator with shaking hands. His ship was breaking apart around him, metal screaming as the hull split open. "This is Captain Velthar, of the science vessel Morning Light. If anyone receives this message, do not come to the Kepler system. They are here. The Kethmoran are here." The captain's voice broke. Through the cracked viewport he could see their ships, black metal shaped like giant claws, each one the size of a city. The Kethmoran fleet moved through space like sharks, in dark water. They took their time. They always took their time. We tried to run when we saw them coming, but you cannot run from them. No one can run from them. They caught us in 3 hours. 3 hours from detection to death. The fastest ship in our fleet could not escape. Velthar looked at the screen showing his crew. Most were already dead. The lucky ones died when the ship was hit. The others were taken. He could hear their screams through the communication system. The Kethmoran always kept some alive. They enjoyed the hunt more when the prey could scream. They boarded us with those creatures. 12 feet tall, claws like swords, teeth like knives. They moved through our ship like death itself. Our weapons did nothing. Nothing at all. We shot them and they laughed. We have the best shields in the galaxy and they tore through them like paper. The captain's hands shook harder. He had seen the Kethmoran kill his crew. He had watched them take his friends alive. The nightmares would have lasted forever if he lived long enough to have them. Send this message to every world, every ship, every station. Tell them the Kethmoran hunt again. Tell them to hide. Tell them to pray to whatever gods they believe in, because nothing stops them. Nothing. The message ended. Captain Velthar did not live to send another one. 3 days later, the message reached the Galactic Council on Sanctuary Prime. The massive station held representatives from 200 different species. When they heard the message, the Great Hall fell silent. They had all hoped this day would never come. Ambassador Thys of the Zephyrian Republic stood first. Her purple skin had turned pale. The Kethmoran Empire has awakened, again. It has been 50 years since their last great hunt. We hoped they would sleep for another century. Ambassador Grex of the Titan worlds laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. His rocky face showed fear. Sleep? They do not sleep. They wait. They wait until they get hungry again. And when they get hungry, they hunt. How many ships did they send to Kepler? Asked Ambassador Lin from the Terran colonies. She was human, young, and new to the council. She did not understand yet. It does not matter, said Thys. 1 ship or 1,000 ships, the result is the same. Death. The Axiom had 40 ships in that system. Military ships with the best weapons we could give them. The Kethmoran destroyed them all. But surely we can fight them if we work together, Lin said. The combined fleets of the Council have millions of ships. The hall became even quieter. Old ambassadors looked at the floor. They remembered the last time someone suggested fighting the Kethmoran. Ambassador Grex spoke in a voice like grinding stone. Young human, let me tell you about the Kethmoran. They are perfect killers. They evolved on a world where everything wanted to eat everything else. For millions of years they hunted and killed until nothing else lived on their planet. Then they learned to build ships and brought their hunt to the stars. They have been hunting the galaxy for 10,000 years. Added this. In that time, they have destroyed over 300 species completely. Not defeated, destroyed, erased from existence. The Helios Collective had 1 million ships and weapons that could crack planets. The Kethmoran ate them in 6 months. Ambassador Lin felt cold. Ate them? The Kethmoran do not just kill, said Grex. They consume. They take everything. Your technology, your culture, your people. They keep the strong ones alive to hunt for sport. They turn your worlds into hunting grounds. When they are done, nothing remains but bones and empty worlds. But what do they want? Lin asked. Territory, resources, power? They want the hunt, said Thys. Nothing else matters to them. They live only to kill. They worship death. Their religion teaches that the strong should consume the weak. They believe the galaxy belongs to them because they are the perfect predators. An old voice spoke from the back of the hall. Ambassador Krell of the Vorthan Empire was the oldest member of the council. He had lived through the last great hunt 50 years ago. I was there when they came for my people, he said. His voice shook with age and memory. We had the greatest military in the galaxy. We had conquered half the known worlds. We thought we were strong. We thought we were safe. Krell's eyes looked far away. They came with 100 ships, just 100. We sent 10,000 ships to stop them. We lost every single one. The battle lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, they landed on our capital world. By the end of the week, my species was extinct except for those they kept as pets. How did you survive? Lynn asked quietly. I was not on the capital when they came. I was here on Sanctuary Prime. When I got the news, I knew I could never go home. There was no home to go back to. The Kethmoran had turned my world into a hunting preserve. They released my people into the forests and hunted them for fun. The hall stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, Ambassador Theiss spoke. The question now is simple. What do we do? Do we run and hide? Do we offer tribute? Do we surrender entire worlds to keep them happy? We give them what they want, said a new voice. Ambassador Cord of the Mechanist Union had been quiet until now. We give them a hunt. We sacrifice the weak systems to protect the strong ones. You mean we give them people to kill, said Lynn. Yes, said Cord. It is better than fighting them. Every time someone fights the Kethmoran, they lose everything. At least this way, most of us live. Lynn stood up. Her face was red with anger. You want to feed innocent people to monsters? I want to survive, said Cord. The Kethmoran cannot be stopped. They cannot be reasoned with, they cannot be defeated. All we can do is try to make sure they do not eat us all. Ambassador Theiss raised her hand for silence. We will vote. All in favor of sending tribute to the Kethmoran Empire? 187 hands went up. All opposed? 13 hands went up. Ambassador Lynn's was one of them. The motion passes. We will contact the Kethmoran and offer tribute. May the gods help us all. As the council broke up, Ambassador Lynn sat alone in her chair. She thought about her people on Earth and the colonies. She thought about the captain who died sending his warning. She thought about the monsters coming for them all. For the first time in her life, she truly understood what it meant to be prey. Captain Sarah Chen was drinking coffee when the alarm started screaming. She put down her cup and ran to the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon. Her crew was already at their stations, faces tense as they watched the main screen. Report, she ordered. Unknown ship approaching from the asteroid belt, said Lieutenant Torres at the sensor station. It's badly damaged. Hull breaches on multiple levels. Life signs are weak, but present. Chen studied the ship on the screen. It was unlike anything in human records. The hull was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop. Beautiful designs covered its surface, but half the ship was torn open. Pieces of metal drifted around it like a cloud of death. Send a message, Chen said. Tell them we're here to help. Captain, said Torres. I'm getting a response, but it's not in any language our computers know. The main screen flickered and a face appeared. Chen tried not to show her surprise. The being looked almost human, but its skin was purple and its eyes were larger than any human's. Blood ran down its face and its breathing was quick and shallow. Please, the being said in broken English. Help us, they are coming, the hunters are coming. Who's coming? Chen asked. Who are you? I am Pilot Nexus of the Zephyrian Republic. Our ship was attacked. Most of my crew is dead. The others, the being's voice broke. The others were taken. Taken by who? The purple-skinned pilot looked around in fear, as if saying the name would bring death itself. The Kethmoran, the apex hunters. They found our convoy and destroyed everything. 40 ships gone in hours. Shen had never heard the name before, but the fear in the pilot's voice was real. We're bringing you aboard. Prepare for docking. 20 minutes later, Pilot Nexus sat in the medical bay while Dr. Park treated his wounds. 2 other survivors lay on beds nearby. All 3 Zephyrians looked broken, not just in body but in spirit. "Tell me about these Kethmaran," Chen said gently. Nexus closed his large eyes. "Death. They are death itself. 12 feet tall with claws that can cut through steel. They hunt everything in the galaxy. No one escapes them. No one fights them, and lives. Everyone can be fought," said Chen. "Every enemy has weaknesses." Nexus laughed, but the sound was full of pain. "That is what the Axiom thought. They had the best weapons in the galaxy. The Kethmaran destroyed them in days. That is what the Helios Collective thought. They had 1,000,000 ships. The Kethmaran ate them all." Dr. Park looked up from his work. "Ate them? The Kethmaran do not just kill. They consume. They take prisoners and hunt them for sport. They turn conquered worlds into hunting grounds. They have been doing this for 10,000 years. Chen felt cold. "How many species have they destroyed?" "Over 300, Nexus whispered. "Complete extinction. Nothing left but empty worlds and bones." "Why haven't we heard of them before?" "Because you are new to the galaxy. Your species just learned to travel between stars. The Galactic Council probably hoped the Kethmoran would never find you, but they always find everyone eventually." Chen's communication officer, Ensign Kim, looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from Earth. High-priority military channels. Something big is happening. Put it through to my ready room," Chen said. She turned to Nexus. "Rest. You're safe here." In her private office, Chen connected to the secure military network. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired and worried. "Sarah, we have a situation. 3 days ago, we received a transmission from something called the Galactic Council. They're warning us about a species called the Kethmaran." "I've heard of them, sir. We just rescued some survivors from one of their attacks." Morrison's eyes went wide. "Survivors? From a Kethmaran attack? According to the Council, there are never survivors. There are 3 of them in our medical bay right now. What did the Council tell us? They want us to hide. They say the Kethmaran are perfect, killers who have destroyed hundreds of species. The Council is offering to help us find places to hide our colonies." Chen frowned. "Hide? That's their plan?" "Apparently, it's the only plan that works. Every species that has fought the Kethmaran has been destroyed. The Council survives by paying tribute. They give the Kethmaran what they want. Which is victims to hunt." Chen felt sick. They sacrifice innocent people to keep these monsters happy? That's the deal. The Council gives them hunting targets and the Kethmaran leave the rest alone. It's been working for 50 years. That's not a solution. That's surrender. Morrison sighed. "Sarah, I agree with you. But what choice do we have? According to the Council, the Kethmaran have weapons that can crack planets. They move faster than anything else in space. They hunt like a pack of wolves and they never give up." Chen thought about the fear in Nexus's eyes. "Sir, request permission to study these survivors. I want to know everything about the Kethmaran, how they fight, how they think, what they want." "Permission granted, but Sarah, keep this quiet. The President is meeting with the Council tomorrow. We need to know our options before we make any decisions." The transmission ended. Chen sat alone in her office, thinking. Everything she had learned about the Kethmaran said they were unstoppable. Perfect predators who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. But something bothered her about that. She went back to the medical bay. Nexus was awake, staring at the ceiling. "Tell me about their ships," she said. "Black metal shaped like claws. Faster than anything else in space. Their weapons can cut through any shield. How many attacked your convoy? 3 ships? 3 ships destroyed 40 of yours?" Nexus nodded. "The Kethmaran do not need large fleets. Each of their ships is worth 100 of ours. But you escaped." Nexus looked confused. "What? You escaped? From perfect predators who never let anyone escape. How?" We were in the engine room when they boarded. There was an explosion. It created a hole in the hull. We were blown into space. Our emergency suits kept us alive until you found us. Chen leaned forward. So they're not perfect, they make mistakes. One mistake in 10,000 years, Nexus said quickly. You cannot count on that. Maybe not, but perfect predators don't make mistakes at all. Chen stood up. Get some rest. Tomorrow I want you to tell me everything you know about how they fight. That night, Chen couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about what Nexus had said. 3 ships destroying 40. Perfect hunters who ruled the galaxy through fear. A council that survived by feeding people to monsters. She went to her computer and started writing a report. But instead of recommending that humanity hide, she wrote something different. She wrote about predators and prey. About how every predator in Earth's history had eventually met something that could fight back. She thought about lions and how they ruled the African plains until humans learned to make spears. She thought about sharks and how they controlled the oceans until humans learned to make boats. She thought about every apex predator in Earth's history and what happened when they met something that refused to be prey. The next morning, she sent her report to Admiral Morrison with a simple message. Sir, request permission to begin combat analysis of Kethmoran tactics. If they want to hunt us, we should know how they hunt. 3 days later, the President of Earth met with the Galactic Council. They offered humanity safe places to hide their colonies. They offered to teach humans how to avoid detection. They offered to include humanity in the tribute system. The President listened to everything they said. Then he gave them humanity's answer. Thank you for the warning about the Kethmoran. We will prepare accordingly. The Council was pleased. Another species would join the system that had kept the galaxy stable for 50 years. They did not know that humanity's idea of preparation was very different from hiding. On military bases across human space, soldiers began training for a war that everyone said was impossible to win. Scientists studied the wreckage of Kethmoran weapons that Nexus had brought with him. Engineers began designing new ships based on everything they could learn about their enemy. Humanity had received its first lesson about the galaxy's apex predators. But unlike every other species before them, humans did not learn to fear. They learned to hunt. Hunt leader Vexcar stood on the bridge of his ship, the Bloodclaw, and watched the human colony world grow larger on the screen. His massive form cast shadows across the bridge as his claws tapped against the metal railing. At 12 feet tall, with black scales and red eyes, he was a perfect killer, bred by millions of years of evolution. This will be easy prey, said Subleader Renth, his second in command. The humans have only been in space for 50 years. They know nothing of real war. Vexcar's mouth split into a grin, showing rows of sharp teeth. Easy prey makes for boring hunts, but new prey always provides interesting surprises. Look at their settlement patterns. On the screen, the human colony of New Terra showed a strange design. Instead of building one large city like most species, the humans had spread their population across the entire planet. Small towns and military bases dotted the landscape like a spider web. They spread out like frightened animals. Renth laughed. They think distance will save them. Perhaps, Guru, said Vexcar, but something felt wrong. In 10,000 years of hunting, he had learned to trust his instincts. Prey that spread out was usually running. But the energy readings from the planet showed something different. The humans were not running, they were waiting. Begin the hunt, he ordered. The Kethmoran had perfected their hunting technique over centuries. First, they would attack isolated targets to spread fear. Then they would broadcast the screams of their victims to break the prey's spirit. Finally, they would land and begin the real hunt, chasing survivors through forests and cities until none remained. 3 Kethmoran ships dropped from orbit toward the human settlements. Vexcar chose a small farming town for his first strike. A few hundred humans lived there, perfect for terrorizing the rest of the planet. But as the Kethmoran ships approached, something unexpected happened. Instead of running, the humans shot. Back, missiles rose from hidden launchers around the town. The sky filled with explosions as human defenses activated. Vexcar watched in surprise as one of his ships took damage to its shields. Impossible, said Renth. Their weapons are too primitive to hurt us. But more missiles kept coming. And these were not the simple rockets that other species used. These missiles turned and twisted in the air, following the Kethmoran ships like living things. Some exploded in brilliant flashes that disrupted sensors. Others released clouds of metal that tore at ship hulls. They have been studying us, Vexkar realized. These weapons are designed specifically to fight our ships. The farming town was not defenseless prey. It was a trap. On the surface, Colonel Martinez watched the battle through his scope. He lay hidden in a forest 3 miles from the town, along with 200 other soldiers. They had been waiting for 6 months for the Kethmoran to come. Targets are taking damage, reported his communications officer, but they're still coming in for landing. Good, said Martinez. Let them land. That's when we spring the real trap. The humans had studied everything the Zephyrian survivors could tell them about Kethmoran tactics. The aliens always landed to hunt their prey on foot. They enjoyed the chase more than simple bombardment from orbit. That enjoyment would be their weakness. The first Kethmoran ship touched down near the town center. Its landing ramp opened and 12 warriors strode out. Each one was a perfect killing machine bred for hunting. Their claws could cut through steel. Their senses could track prey across continents. They had never failed to catch what they hunted. They spread out through the town, expecting to find terrified humans hiding in buildings. Instead, they found empty streets and silent houses. "Where is the prey?" asked one warrior over their communication system. "They must be hiding in the buildings," replied another. "We will dig them out." But the buildings were empty too. Every house, every store, every basement had been abandoned. The Kethmoran searched for an hour and found nothing but equipment that had been left behind. "This makes no sense," growled the pack leader. "Prey does not simply vanish." That was when the real hunt began. The first Kethmoran warrior died when he stepped on a mine hidden under a doorway. The explosion took off his leg and sent him crashing to the ground. Before he could call for help, a human sniper put a bullet through his head from half a mile away. The other warriors roared in anger and confusion. They had never been hunted before. They did not know what it felt like to be prey. "Contact the ship," ordered the pack leader. "Tell them we are under attack." But when they tried to use their communicators, nothing happened. The humans had jammed all frequencies. The Kethmoran were alone in an empty town, cut off from their ship, being hunted by an enemy they could not see. The second warrior died when he entered a building. The humans had rigged it with explosives. The third died when he tried to climb to higher ground and triggered a sniper positioned 2 miles away. The fourth and fifth died together when they stepped into a pit filled with sharpened stakes. By sunset, only 3 Kethmoran warriors remained alive out of the original 12. They huddled together in the town square, backs to each other, watching. "Every shadow. This is not how hunts are supposed to work," one whispered. "The prey is supposed to run," said another. "The prey is supposed to be afraid." But the humans were not afraid. They were patient. They waited in the darkness while the Kethmoran jumped at every sound. They let fear do their work for them. On his ship, Vexkar watched his warriors die one by one. This had never happened before. The Kethmoran had hunted for 10,000 years without losing a single pack. Now an entire team was being destroyed by primitive humans. "Send reinforcements," he ordered. "All of them?" asked Renth. "All of them. These humans need to learn what happens when prey fights back." Vexkar sent his entire force to the surface. 200 Kethmoran warriors, the largest hunting party ever assembled. They would find these humans and show them what real predators could do. But the humans had anticipated this too. As soon as the Kethmoran ships landed, human artillery began firing from positions 10 miles away. The shells fell like rain, turning the landing zone into a crater-filled wasteland. The Kethmoran warriors scattered, using their speed and agility to avoid the explosions. They were still superior fighters, faster and stronger than any human. But the humans had turned the entire planet into a battlefield designed to neutralize those advantages. Every forest had been filled with traps. Every hill had sniper positions. Every valley had been mined. The humans had spent months preparing for this battle. studying Kethmoran movements and predicting their tactics. More importantly, the humans fought like a pack. While the Kethmoran spread out to hunt individual prey, human soldiers worked together. When one team engaged the enemy, others flanked them. When the Kethmoran tried to pursue, they ran into ambushes. When they tried to retreat, they found escape routes blocked. For the first time in their history, the Kethmoran were being outmaneuvered. Vexkar realized the truth as he watched his forces being systematically destroyed. These humans were not prey at all. They were predators disguised as prey. They had studied the Kethmoran like scientists studying animals. They had learned weaknesses that no other species had ever found. Worse, they enjoyed it. The humans were not fighting out of fear or desperation. They were hunting for the pleasure of the hunt itself. They had turned the Kethmoran's own tactics against them. "Retreat," Vexkar ordered. "Pull back to the ships." But it was too late. Human forces had surrounded the landing zone. The Kethmoran found themselves trapped on the surface of an alien world, being hunted by creatures they had thought were helpless prey. As night fell on New Terra, emergency beacons began transmitting across Kethmoran space. For the first time in 10,000 years, a hunting pack was calling for help. The message was simple but shocking. We are the ones being hunted. On the bridge of the Blood Claw, Vexkar stared at the tactical display. Half his warriors were dead. The others were trapped on the surface, fighting for their lives against an enemy that seemed to know their every move. He thought about the fear he had seen in countless prey species over the millennia. Now for the first time he understood what that fear felt like. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. And somewhere in the forests below, human soldiers moved through the darkness with perfect coordination, closing in on the galaxy's former apex predators like wolves stalking wounded deer. The hunt had begun, but the Kethmoran were no longer the hunters. Emperor Thrakvos had ruled the Kethmoran Empire for 300 years. In all that time he had never felt fear. Fear was for prey. Fear was for the weak. Fear was for everything else in the galaxy except the Kethmoran. Now he stood in his throne room, reading reports that made no sense. His massive claws crushed the data tablets as his rage grew. The golden armor that covered his 15-foot frame seemed to dim in the red light of his anger. "Tell me again what happened at New Terra," he growled to General Yethmor, his military commander. The general kept his eyes on the floor. In the Kethmoran Empire, bringing bad news to the Emperor was dangerous. "We lost 3 hunting ships and 400 warriors, my lord. Hunt leader Vexkar is dead. The humans, they fought back." Fought back? The Emperor's voice shook the walls. Prey does not fight back. Prey runs. Prey hides. Prey dies. That is the natural order. Yes, my lord. But these humans are different. They set traps. They work together. They hunted our warriors like we hunt prey. Emperor Thrakvos had conquered half the galaxy. He had personally killed the leaders of 50 different species. He had watched entire civilizations burn. But this news hit him like a physical blow. "Send the Second Fleet," he ordered. 100 ships turn their worlds to ash. "My lord," said General Yethmor carefully, "the humans have already spread to 15 different star systems. Our scouts report military bases on every world. They are not hiding. They are preparing for war." "War?" The Emperor laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Prey species do not wage war against the Kethmoran. They surrender. They beg. They offer tribute. The humans have done none of those things. Instead, they have attacked our hunting parties in 3 other systems. Small groups of human ships appear, strike fast, and vanish before our fleets can respond. The Emperor's claws left deep scratches in the metal arm of his throne. "How many warriors have we lost?" 2,000 in the past month, my lord. 2,000. In 10,000 years of hunting, the Kethmoran had never lost 2,000 warriors in a single year, let alone a month. They were perfect killers. They were the apex predators of the galaxy. They did not lose battles. "Show me these human tactics," the Emperor demanded. General Yethmor activated a holographic display. It showed the Kethmoran hunting preserve on Xerion Prime. where they kept captured prey for sport hunting. The display showed a rescue mission that had happened 3 days ago. 50 human ships attacked the station, the general explained. But they did not fight like other species. They did not try to destroy our forces. Instead, they freed the prisoners and vanished. Freed them? The Emperor stared at the display. Why would they risk their lives for other species? We do not know, my lord, but they took 200 prisoners from 6 different species. Zephyrians, Axiom, Titanians, even some Vorthans. They loaded them onto transports and escaped before our reinforcements arrived. The Emperor watched the recording with growing confusion. This made no sense. Prey species fought only to save themselves. They did not risk their lives for others. They certainly did not attack Kethmoran installations to free strangers. What happened to our warriors on the station? Dead, my lord. All of them. The humans left no survivors. But they rescued the prey? Yes, my lord. The Emperor fell silent. In his 300 years of rule, he had never encountered behavior like this. The humans were hunting Kethmoran warriors while simultaneously protecting other species. It went against everything he understood about the galaxy. There is more, my lord, said General Yethmore. The humans have begun broadcasting messages across the galaxy. What kind of messages? The general activated another display. A human face appeared, speaking in clear galactic standard. The human was female, young, with short dark hair and determined eyes. This is Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Fleet, the recording said. We know that many species have suffered under Kethmoran rule. We know that you have been forced to live in fear, to pay tribute, to sacrifice your own people to keep the monsters satisfied. The Emperor's eyes widened. No prey species had ever spoken about the Kethmoran this way. They whispered the name in terror. They offered prayers to avoid Kethmoran attention. They did not call them monsters. Those days are ending, Admiral Chen continued. Humanity offers alliance to any species willing to fight for their freedom. We have proven that the Kethmoran can be defeated. They are not gods. They are not unstoppable. They are predators who have grown fat and lazy on easy prey. We offer ships, weapons, and training to any world that wants to stand up to their oppressors. The galaxy has lived in darkness for 10,000 years. It is time to bring light. The message ended. Emperor Thrakvos stared at the empty display, his mind struggling to process what he had heard. Prey species did not offer to fight the Kethmoran. They begged for mercy. They offered tribute. They surrendered. How many worlds have responded to this message, Ger? He asked. General Yethmore looked even more uncomfortable. 17 so far, my lord. The Vorthan remnant has joined them. 3 Zephyrian colonies have declared independence from council rule. Even some Axiom worlds are requesting human military advisors. Impossible. The humans are teaching them Kethmoran weaknesses, my lord. They share everything they learn from our captured technology. They are turning our own hunting methods against us. The Emperor stood up from his throne. His massive form cast shadows across the room as he paced back and forth. This was beyond mere rebellion. This was the complete destruction of the order that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Send word to every hunting fleet, he ordered. All ships return to home territory immediately. We will gather our full strength and crush this human infection before it spreads further. My lord, said General Yethmore, our hunting fleets are already under attack. The humans appear wherever we have forces. They strike and vanish like ghosts. We have lost contact with 12 hunting packs in the past week. Then they die like the prey they are. The Emperor's roar shook dust from the ceiling. Send the First Fleet, send the Imperial Guard, send everything. These humans will learn what happens when prey forgets its place. But even as he gave the orders, Emperor Thrakvos felt something he had never experienced before. Deep in his chest, in the place where his 2 hearts beat, there was a cold feeling that he did not recognize. It took him several minutes to realize what it was. Fear. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the human battleship Defiance, Admiral Chen studied the tactical displays showing Kethmoran fleet movements across the galaxy. Her staff worked quietly around her, coordinating with resistance cells and allied species throughout known space. Admiral, reported her intelligence officer, Kethmoran forces are pulling back from their outer territories. They're consolidating around their home systems. Good, said Chen. That means they're scared. Scared predators make mistakes. What about the civilian populations in those territories? The Kethmoran might take revenge on the hunting preserves. Chen's face hardened. Then we make sure there are no hunting preserves left to attack. Signal the Third Fleet. Begin Operation Liberation. Every Kethmoran installation, every hunting ground, every prison world. We're tearing down their entire empire piece by piece. Admiral, said her communications officer, we're receiving messages from Kethmoran space, multiple sources. It appears to be panic. Put it through. The speakers filled with Kethmoran voices speaking in their own language. The translation software worked quickly, turning alien words into human speech. The prey has weapons that cut through our ships. They know where we will attack before we attack. They fight like us, but better. How do we hunt something that hunts us back? Chen smiled. The psychological warfare was working perfectly. For 10,000 years, the Kethmoran had been the galaxy's apex predators. Their entire society, their religion, their sense of identity, was built on being the perfect hunters. Now they were learning what it felt like to be prey. Send a message to the Emperor, Chen ordered. Tell him we know where his throne world is, tell him we're coming. And tell him that when we arrive, he'll finally understand what every other species in the galaxy has felt for 10,000 years. What message should we send, Admiral? Chen thought for a moment. Then she smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Tell him to run. Across the galaxy, the natural order was breaking down. Prey species were fighting back. Predators were afraid, and in the darkness between the stars, human ships moved like shadows, hunting the hunters who had ruled through fear for so long. The Kethmoran Empire was discovering what every apex predator throughout history had eventually learned. There was always something higher on the food chain, and this time that something was humanity. The throne world of Kethmor burned beneath a red sky. Emperor Thrakvos stood on the highest tower of his palace, watching the horizon fill with explosions. Human ships moved through his atmosphere like silver fish in a dark sea, striking at military targets with perfect precision. His empire was gone. 50 systems had fallen in 6 months. The hunting fleets that had terrorized the galaxy for 10,000 years were destroyed or scattered. The Emperor's own capital world was under siege, and there was nowhere left to run. My lord, General Yethmor approached carefully. The human fleet is requesting communication. The Emperor's massive form did not move. His golden armor was cracked from a dozen battles. His claws were broken from trying to tear apart problems that could not be solved with violence. For the first time in his 300-year life, he looked old. They want to gloat, he said quietly. Perhaps, my lord. Or perhaps they want to offer terms. The Emperor laughed, but the sound was hollow. Terms? Prey does not offer terms to predators. Prey runs or prey dies. With respect, my lord, we are no longer the predators. The words hit like a physical blow. Emperor Thrakvos turned to face his general, his red eyes burning with the last of his rage. We are Kethmoran. We are the apex hunters. We are the perfect killers. We were, said General Yethmor sadly. But the humans have shown the galaxy something we never understood. Predators hunt alone. Prey survives together. Before the Emperor could respond, the communication system activated. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the display screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship hummed with activity. Emperor Thrakvos, she said. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. The Emperor stared at the small human face. After months of defeat, this was his first time seeing the architect of his destruction. She was so tiny compared to a Kethmoran, so weak-looking. Yet she had brought down an empire that had lasted 10 millennia. You are the prey that thinks it is a predator, he growled. Chen's expression did not change. No, Emperor. I am something you never learned to recognize. I am a protector. There is no difference. There is every difference. Predators take, protectors defend, predators hunt for pleasure, protectors fight for necessity. That is why you lost. The Emperor's claws scraped against the stone railing. We lost because you had superior numbers, superior technology, superior luck. You lost because you never understood what you were fighting, Chen replied. You thought we were prey because we were smaller than you, weaker than you individually. But you made the same mistake that every failed predator makes. You confused individual strength with collective power. Explain. Chen leaned forward. For 10,000 years you ruled through fear. You made every species in the galaxy choose between fighting you alone or paying tribute. But we gave them a third choice. We taught them to fight together. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Around him, explosions continued to light up the sky as human forces methodically dismantled his defenses. What do you want? He asked finally. Surrender, Chen said simply. Complete and unconditional surrender of all Kethmoran military forces, release of all prisoners in your hunting preserves, dismantling of your government and military structure. And if we refuse? Then we finish what you started. You taught the galaxy that apex predators take everything. You were right. The difference is that we are the apex predators now. The Emperor felt something cold settle in his chest. You would exterminate us? That depends on you. The choice you gave every other species is the same choice we give you now. Adapt to a galaxy where you are no longer in control, or face the same extinction you brought to 300 other species. We are warriors, we are hunters, we cannot simply become peaceful. Chen's face softened slightly. Emperor, I have studied your species for 2 years. I know your history. I know you evolved on a world where only the strongest survived. But evolution does not stop. The galaxy has evolved past the need for apex predators like you. What would you have us become? Whatever you choose, as long as it does not involve hunting sentient beings. The galaxy is large enough for everyone if we work together instead of preying on each other. The Emperor looked around his throne room. Trophies from 1,000 hunts lined the walls. Skulls from extinct species stared down at him with empty eyes. His entire culture, his entire identity, was built on being the perfect killer. You ask us to give up everything we are. I ask you to become something better than what you are. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms began screaming throughout the palace. General Yethmore checked his communication device, his face going pale. My lord, human forces have breached the lower levels of the palace. They are moving toward the throne room. How? The Emperor spun around. This palace has defenses that could stop an army. They did not come through the defenses, my lord. They came through the old drainage tunnels, pathways too small for Kethmoran to use. They have been inside the palace for hours, moving through spaces we never thought to guard. The Emperor stared at his general in disbelief. Even here, in his final stronghold, the humans had found a way to outthink him. They fought like water, flowing around obstacles instead of trying to smash through them. Heavy footsteps echoed from the corridors outside the throne room, but they were not the thundering steps of Kethmoran warriors. They were the measured pace of human soldiers moving in formation. The great doors of the throne room opened. Admiral Chen walked in, flanked by 6 human marines in combat armor. The soldiers kept their weapons lowered but ready. Their eyes swept the room, cataloging threats and exits with professional efficiency. The Emperor had expected to feel rage at seeing enemy soldiers in his sacred space. Instead, he felt only exhaustion. Chen looked even smaller in person, barely, reaching his waist. Yet she walked into his throne room like she owned it. You came yourself, he said. A hunt is not complete until you face your prey directly, Chen replied. Is not that what your people believe? We are not your prey. No, Chen agreed. You are not. You are something that needs to be stopped. There is a difference. She gestured to her soldiers, who spread out around the room. Emperor Thrakvas, by the authority of the Galactic Liberation Alliance, You are under arrest for crimes against sapient life. You will be tried fairly, with representatives from every species your empire harmed." The Emperor looked at the small human woman who had destroyed everything he had built. "And if I refuse to surrender?" Chen's hand rested on the weapon at her side. "Then this ends here? Now, the way every hunt ends, with the predator standing over the prey." For a long moment the throne room was silent except for the distant sound of explosions. The Emperor thought about fighting. His claws could tear through human soldiers like paper. He could probably kill Chen before her guards could stop him. But then what? His empire was gone. His armies were defeated. His people were scattered across the galaxy, learning to hide instead of hunt. Fighting now would change nothing except that he would die as a warrior instead of living as a prisoner. "I surrender," he said quietly. Chen nodded to her soldiers, who moved forward with restraints, designed for large aliens. As they bound his hands, the Emperor looked down at the human admiral. "Tell me something," he said. "What happens to apex predators when they are no longer apex?" Chen met his eyes without fear. "They learn to live in a world where cooperation matters more than individual strength. Some adapt, some do not. The choice is yours." As the human soldiers led him away, Emperor Thrakvos looked back at his throne room one last time. The skulls on the walls seemed to watch him with accusing eyes. 300 species had died to build his empire. Now it would take their place in the graveyard of history. The galaxy's apex predators had finally been hunted. 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of Sanctuary Prime Station, watching ships from dozens of species work together to rebuild worlds that had been destroyed by the Kethmoran. Zephyrian medical ships worked alongside Axiom construction vessels. Human warships protected convoys carrying supplies to former hunting preserves. "Admiral," her aide approached, with a datapad. "The Galactic Council is asking for your recommendation on the Kethmoran rehabilitation program." Chen looked at the report. Scattered groups of Kethmoran were slowly learning to live without hunting sentient beings. Some had adapted to become explorers using their physical abilities to map dangerous regions of space. Others worked as protectors, their warrior instincts redirected toward defending instead of attacking. "Approved," she said, "but maintain the monitoring programs. Apex predators do not change overnight." Her aide nodded and left. Chen remained at the window, watching the ships work together in the darkness between stars. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The strongest predator was not the one with the sharpest claws or the biggest teeth. It was the one that could convince others to hunt alongside it. For 10,000 years, the Kethmoran had ruled through fear, making every species choose between submission and extinction. But humanity had shown the galaxy a third option: cooperation. The age of apex predators was over. The age of apex protectors had begun. And in the darkness between the stars, the galaxy finally knew peace.